After watching probably hundreds of Etsy print-on-demand videos over the past half year, I finally decided to open another Etsy shop with the goal of building this into a six-figure Etsy store. Hi, I'm Jai, and if you're new here, I've been documenting my Etsy journey on this channel. I started with digital products and have been running that shop for about 9 months now. So while learning about Etsy strategies on YouTube, along the way, I came across a lot of print-on-demand content too. At first, I was watching it just to see what was out there, but eventually I thought maybe I should try it myself. So I opened the shop, and like my digital product shop, I'll be sharing monthly reports of what I did, what I noticed, and what worked and what didn't work. If you're new to POD, it's basically where you create a design for a physical product like t-shirts, tote bags, mugs, etc. And a print provider prints and ships it for you. You don't have to deal with inventory or shipping. It's kind of like selling digital products, but with a few extra steps and headaches. So for example, with digital products, people get them instantly. With POD, customers have to wait for production and shipping. There is also the risk of delays or defects. Digital products are also usually cheaper, between $3 and $10. So if something goes wrong, it's not a huge loss. But with POD, a shirt could be $20 or more. So if someone wants a refund, you're the one losing money. I'll probably make a separate video comparing the two, especially if you're trying to decide which to start with. Anyway, I opened my POD shop on January 1st, 2025, which is funny because most people try to launch before the new year to catch the Q4 rush. But I wanted to avoid that, especially as a beginner. I didn't want to deal with potential issues like delayed orders or bad reviews while I was still figuring things out. I wanted a smooth, low-pressure start. So I launched on January, which is generally a slower time for Etsy, but felt safer for me. Even though I technically opened on the 1st, I didn't start listing products until January 16. I was procrastinating, trying to get everything perfect, which doesn't really make sense because how can you be perfect at something you've never tried before, right? The first 2 weeks of January, I spent time choosing a niche and a product. Most POD niches seem to fall into one of 4 categories, like life events like weddings and birthdays, people and occupations like parents, teachers, nurses, hobbies and interests like sports or baking, and then there's pets and animals. There might be more, but those are the main ones I've seen. Since my digital product sells business templates, I thought about doing something for professionals or entrepreneurs, but I ended up choosing pets. And for the product, I went with t-shirts. Yes, it's super competitive, but honestly, I feel like nowadays, every niche on Etsy is competitive. So I'm hoping that quality designs and consistency will be enough for me to stand out. And I don't mind designing around pets. I mean, I'd totally buy something that reminds me of my own pets. I can see myself doing this long term, and animal-themed graphics are something I wouldn't get tired of. At least I hope. But before we get into what I actually did, quick disclaimer, I am not an expert or a coach. I'm just documenting what I'm doing. Most of the strategies I'm trying are things I picked up from other Etsy YouTubers or from running my digital product shop. Everyone's journey is different. I'm just sharing what's happening with mine. So if you find this helpful, please boop that like button for me. So here are the strategies I've been focusing on for the first 2 months. First is that I've invested a lot of time into keyword and design research. Being in a saturated niche, t-shirts for pet owners, I couldn't just go into this blindly. I needed to take the time to figure out what types of designs are trending and what keywords are being used for those designs. Second, in relation to that, when it comes to the designs themselves, I took inspiration from existing bestsellers in the same niche and in other niches as well. I just switched things up a bit and gave them my own twist. Third, to build up a big reserve of designs or listings in a short amount of time, I used each design as a template and just duplicated it by switching up the main keywords. So for example, since my category is pets, I changed something like I heart dogs into I heart chihuahuas or I heart corgis, etc. And because there are so many dog breeds, cat breeds, and even pet species, I could turn one unique design into 20 different listings easy. Now, this strategy has some upsides and downsides. On the upside, you can milk one design for 10, 20, even 50 listings. It's a fast way to get a lot of listings up with little effort, and there's a chance to appeal to really specific interests. But the downside is, if no one likes that unique design, no matter how specific the interest is, it means you could end up with 20 or more flopped listings. So to try to make sure that those batches of listings aren't a total flop, I added in a fourth strategy, which is to include one more point of appeal, and that is personalization. Maybe someone likes my design, but they were looking for a breed that I hadn't listed, or maybe they wanted to add a name. So I gave them the option to add a personal touch to the product. And fifth, I set the goal of posting 1 to 2 listings per day consistently. Even though I could technically upload 10 listings in a single day, I just wanted to keep it safe and give my listings a bit of room to breathe. Hopefully that way I wouldn't be seen as a spammy store on Etsy. There are a lot more nuanced strategies that I won't go into detail on right now, but those 5 are what I stuck to so far. And honestly, if you've been binging POD related videos, you've probably already heard of them. Now with that, we can finally head into my dashboard. So I started listing on January 16, and I was keeping it cool, super casual, low expectations. I listed 3 items initially, and yes, Etsy did give me that boost, all for about a day. As you can see, I got 63 visits to my store, even though I had those 3 listings up. Then after that, well, mostly crickets, and this went on until the end of January. At this point, my shop wasn't doing so great, so I started thinking that maybe my design sucked or that people just didn't trust my shop yet, which would be understandable since, I have no sales and no reviews, right? So I decided to introduce a different product into the mix, a loss leader. Basically, a loss leader is a low-priced item that's meant to attract more customers and boost sales. At this point, my goal wasn't really to make a profit yet. I just wanted to get a few sales under my belt and, fingers crossed, maybe a 5-star review. For my loss leader, I actually found a pet-related digital product that I thought would fit quite nicely in my shop. It wasn't a PNG file or design. Honestly, I feel like if you use PNGs or clip art as a loss leader for a POD shop, you'd have to make just as many clip art listings as physical ones. And it might cause some confusion down the line about whether your shop is physical or digital. So yeah, if you're going for the loss leader route, in my opinion, I'd stay away from clip art for a POD shop. I only made 6 of these digital product listings, and here's where things get kind of spicy. I actually turned on ads for my loss leaders. Yes, I know it pretty much goes against what's taught by Etsy experts on YouTube who say that you should wait until you've made X amount of sales before running ads. But this is just me, coming from 6 months of experience selling digital products. I had some confidence that these products would sell if I advertised them. And if you've been following my channel for a while now, you know that I'm a pro ads kind of guy. So I started running ads on January 28th, and visits slowly started increasing. Most of the attention was on my digital products. I was getting favorites on those, but it wasn't until February 14, Valentine's Day, that I got my first sale from those loss leaders. And not just 1, but 2 orders on that day, which is about 1 month since I started listing. And again, I only had 6 digital product listings. I really just wanted to get my first 5-star review from one of those sales. After that, it took a whole week with no sales until I got my next few on February 23, 24, 25, so on. And I was now getting consecutive days with sales. Still just from the loss leaders, but I still wasn't getting any shirt sales, and no one was leaving a review. So I decided to throw caution to the wind and turned on my ads for all my listings. At that point, I had about 50 listings in total. There were really 2 things I needed to validate with ads. First, my keywords and demand. Was I using keywords that people were actually searching for? And was there any demand for the super specific dog breeds I was featuring in my shirts? Second, I needed validation for my designs. Again, I used a template approach. So out of these 50 listings, most were just these two types of design layouts duplicated 20 plus times. I needed to know if people actually resonated with them because sometimes what works with one niche doesn't work in another. So I set a budget of $25 per day, and mostly it was still just the digital products carrying my shop. But I'm still thankful for those since the sales that I was getting on them helped to make back some of my ad spend. Until finally, lo and behold, on March 11, I got my first t-shirt sale. A little less than 2 months after listing my first products. And plot twist, the sale didn't even come from one of my templated shirt designs. It was from this kind of a one-off unique design ad sprinkled in that didn't even have any personalization in it. And with that, after the first 60 days of my POD shop, I've gotten 18 orders for a total revenue of $103.60, give or take a few dollars due to taxes and shipping. 17 of those were from my digital products, and only one from a t-shirt. And still, I had no reviews. So if you calculate the total costs for these first 2 months, I spent $15 to open the store, $124.67 in ad spend, $48.11 in Etsy fees, and $15.67 for the production cost of the shirt. And that's not even including all the initial listing fees for about 60 listings. So I lost about $78 in the first 60 days of this print-on-demand shop. And honestly, that's not really a surprise. My methods might seem a bit rash, especially with the ads. I'm keeping my expectations low, sure, but the ambition is still definitely there. Print on demand is a very different game, I'm finding, compared to selling digital products on Etsy. It's definitely an investment of time, energy, emotion, and money. But hey, what business isn't, right? So for the next month, seeing as my first sale came from a more unique, non-templated design, I'm considering making more of those types of listings. Even though they'll take a bit more time, I think it's time to switch up the game plan and start focusing more on quality instead of quantity. I'm making this series and documenting this journey because maybe some of you are also just starting out with print on demand and wondering if you're even doing things right, especially if you're going at it alone without the help from a coach or a mentor. And maybe you've been feeling a bit blindsided by all the YouTube videos that make print on demand look like easy money. I mean, I'm by no means setting any kind of standard here, but we're in this together. We're learning as we go, experimenting, seeing what works and what doesn't, and that's still all part of the process, especially in 2025. So if you're with me, leave a comment below on how your POD shop is going so far. I love reading them, and I'm sure other people do as well. It makes this whole endeavor feel a little less lonely. And if you're curious about how my digital product shop is doing, you can start watching them right here.